It's a very interesting, believe me, it is as interesting as the word interesting means interesting. You would not want to miss it. So we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. Is divorce a good ground for abuse? Or is abuse a good ground for divorce? Yes. What do you think about abuse and divorce? Should you abuse your husband or should you abuse your wife? Should you divorce them? Should you divorce your husband or divorce your wife because of the abuse, any kind of abuse? So that is the topic we are talking about this evening. And with me here in the studio are beautiful, beautiful ladies on air, beautiful ladies to talk about this very interesting topic. With me here is Aunty Chimdi and Chikel. We're going to be talking about this interesting topic with me. So I will let them introduce themselves and tell us rather, if abuse, what they think about abuse generally before we talk about it relating to divorce. So we're going to be talking about abuse and divorce. So I'll let the ladies with me here, the beautiful ladies here, introduce themselves and tell us what they think about abuse generally.
I like to start. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I just believe that your day has been turning up very well. My name is Chimdi, and this is Dame Show, just like Chidera has actually said, and I welcome you once again to the show. But before I get to say what I think about abuse and it being or offering enough grounds for a divorce, I would still like you to know that we're expecting one of our friends to join us much later. She should be here to be part of what we're doing, and we're also expecting a counselor to still be part of what we're doing. So when they come in, you still get to hear from them. But for now, you're just hearing from three of us, but later we're expecting to have 5 persons in the studio. Before then, like I said before, my name is Chimdi, and you're welcome to Dame Show.
Welcoming you. So Chimdi, tell me what you think about abuse generally. Now let's not relate it to divorce first. Let's talk about abuse. What do you think about abuse?
Okay, for persons who are not new to Dame Show, you could recall with me that abuse has been something that we have been talking about for a while now. How it affects how it leads to inferiority complex, how it leads to people not being able to believe in themselves, how people become stagnated, how it leads to the point of some persons committing suicide. Sometimes abuse leads to domestic violence, and we get to record a number of deaths, all thanks to that. But then abuse. When you're talking about abuse, you have emotional abuse, and things that can lead to that are things like verbal abuse, and then we have physical abuse. We also have infidelity. This another kind of an abuse you can that can actually put someone into an emotional stress, and we also have financial abuse. Some of us sometimes we don't know how to manage what is given to us by our spouse. Sometimes it leads to some things we do not really know about. There sometimes you're asking yourself, okay, why is this person being this hard, or why is this person just so unpleasable? Why is this person so harsh? It might be the fact that you don't know how to manage his or her resources at your disposal. Okay, now if we keep going on and on, we'll find out that abuse is not something that we can say, yes, because we're ladies, we now say men abuse women. Yeah. Okay, we have cases where women abuse the men. Okay, so, abuse, like you've asked me, what can I say about it? One thing I know about abuse is I don't think it has a positive benefit. The only thing it can actually make is to make an emotional woman be too strong. I was talking to my husband some time ago. I said some of those things I used to cry about, I've been able to bring myself together. Right about now, I'm too strong. And sometimes I don't like the fact that I'm that strong. I want to be the emotional person I was created to be. Because sometimes you get too strong that it's over the bar. If God has made us to be emotional, we need to be emotional. Okay, so as to get some things that emotion would get for us. But then again, abuse sometimes puts you at that point where you hate. You hate for no reason, because maybe let's say, for instance, I came from a family where my father physically abuses my mother. It might make me to start hating men for not having value for women. Okay, sometimes it gives the wrong upbringing. Like you have a guy raised in a place where the man hits the woman. He might just think that's the way life is. And he grows up just expecting that when a woman says trash to you, you beat the lady up. I mean, beat the lady up very well, as a matter of fact. You know, some of these things are things that abuse at different forms and levels can actually bring to us. And I think this is where I'll actually drop it right now, so Chika gets to say some other thing before I finish everything.
Okay.
All right, good evening, all. My name is Chikel, and just like what Chimdi says, I do agree with her. Abuse doesn't have any. I don't think it has any positive side. Come on, it's abuse. Like the word says, abuse. There's drug abuse. There's physical abuse. There's financial abuse. There's mental abuse. Different abuse. I don't think it has any positive side. It just makes someone emotionally down. Like you won't believe in yourself. Some persons go through verbal abuse, and I think that one is so worse because you just lose your self-worth. Imagine growing up as a child and then you hear your parents calling you all sort of names, negative names, name calling, and all of that. You will never believe in yourself. Everywhere you find yourself, you just feel like nobody likes you there, just because of what has been going through your head since when you were grown. So most persons go through this abuse in marriage, and I don't think it's good at all. That's my take.
Oh, okay. So actually, I did not know there was anything like financial abuse.
Okay, now you know.
Yeah, I'm hearing it for the first time that we can abuse our finances.
Abuse basically is when you misuse a particular thing, and especially the turnout becomes let's say hazardous or something. Yeah, so you can actually abuse anything. You can abuse opportunity. You can abuse anything at all.
My head did not knock towards the financing. So as we were talking, a friend walked in. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ladies.
Welcome to
evening
them.
to you.
Should welcome. So, sir, we are talking about abuse and divorce. Is abuse enough grounds for divorce? And we are trying to generalize what abuse is. So, sir, help us. What do you think abuse is?
Good evening. My name is Reverend P.C. Oki.
Welcome, sir.
Are we trying to look at abuse in marriage or abuse generally?
Definitely, it's a marriage because there must be marriage before divorce.
Okay, I came in while you were talking about categories of abuse. Let's start from psychological abuse. You see, psychological abuse is when the other spouse is trying to make sure that the family is well fixed together and the other person is unappreciable. You don't appreciate your spouse. That is that's a psychological abuse because it makes the other person to feel very, very terrible. It makes it impossible for you to appreciate that person. So the person actually generally thinks that, oh, I've not been doing this well. Okay, so he or she gets to struggle. All right, and when there is struggle, there is disharmony. Okay, when there is disharmony, the other person is psychologically tortured, and when that happens, that's a psychological abuse. You understand? Now we also look at the spiritual abuse. The spiritual abuse is when this other person is also trying to burn the candles to make sure that he is well related with God. But you see the man always coming home drunk. And the woman has been praying and fasting and all that. Okay? And let us pray. You're hearing. It's either the woman or the man. Okay? That's on that side. Then, the one that you say you've not heard before, the financial abuse. Oh, yes. It happens. Where the man is insensitive about the things that concerns the family. Both of them are trying to bring in things to make the family work, but the man is always spending for things that are not relevant to the family. The woman is trying to be very, very, very conservative, but the man is extravagant, and vice versa. The man is trying to bring in, and the woman is cooking a pot of soup with 10,000 naira, 20,000 naira. You understand? So that's financial abuse. Not putting the the square, the what do you call it now? The pegs in the square holes, because you need to put them. My wife will say, this is not our priority. And I'm always like, but this is what we need. He said there's a difference between what we need
And what we want.
and the priorities, which is what we want at the moment. Okay, we know that we need to each of us drive a different car. But is it what we need? It's what we want. But is it what we need? Can we sustain it? You understand? Even if we can afford to buy the car, can we afford to maintain it and also take care of the fact that I have a family, my mother is alive, my father is alive, her father is alive, her mother is alive, and I also have a stepmother. I have step siblings. So, and I have an elder sister who is a widow. You understand? And you can't write her off. So she's part of. I tell people I have 5 wives. My wife.
You have 1 wife, 4 assistants.
Okay, I have 1 wife, 4 assistants.
Yeah, please. That office is taken.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much for the correction. I have 1 wife and 4 assistants. And sometimes the demands of these 4 assistants are very high.
More than the major.
Even the madam, sometimes you need to hide things from her
Okay.
to be able to do. You know, once your salary drops, it looks like spiritually they monitor you. So the calls and the flashes begin to come. Of course, you know why they are coming. So you need to settle up. All right? So if you cannot prudently manage the family finances, then that's a financial abuse. You understand? Now we come to the one that is physical abuse, where you get to hit the woman. I have the situation where women beat their husband. I've seen a lot of that. When I walked into office today, one of our colleagues tried to bully me, and she's a female.
Oh.
I was almost bullied.
Oh my God.
I practically begged.
Wow. but you know, when this kind of thing happened, sorry, your colleague tried to bully you.
Oh yes.
What did you do to her?
I don't know. I'm trying to find out.
Oh.
I'm yet to investigate.
Uh-oh.
You know?
Sorry, maybe next time try to be a good person.
What have I done?
No, I don't know. I asked
Why
you.
do
You
I
say you
feel
don't
as
know.
So why you judge?
Because she's directly attacking you.
And so
I feel she's
you
the-
okay?
No. You say a colleague bullied you, and I asked you, what did you do? I can ask anybody who reports that to me. What did you do?
Okay.
And you said nothing. I
Chimdi.
said, okay, it's good for you to find out
Chimdi.
what you did.
Chimdi.
So I am not attacking you.
Chimdi,
I'm not. Yes.
you are
yes, sir.
bullying me right now.
Oh, okay. I didn't know this was bullying. All right, and if you're just joining us, you're welcome. This is 20 minutes gone past 7, and we are still on Dame Show, having lovely ladies, Chidera, our uncle for this night, and Chika is here, Chimdi is here, is the Chi ladies, and
That's true.
Yeah. It's true.
Chi chi chi.
Chi.
Like chon chon yong yang yang.
I say we are bullying him.
Yeah, so now he will say we are bullying him. So, and we also have Reverend PC Oki, a counselor, right here with us, and we're looking straight at a very sincere and straightforward topic: is abuse enough grounds for divorce? And of course, Chidera has been able to hold up still, explaining what abuse is and the effects of abuse. But another thing we need to also look at is what actually is divorce.
Okay.
When we're talking about divorce, since we have understood what abuse is, we need to also understand what divorce is to know if abuse that we have explained is enough ground or not for divorce. So we get to ask you, Chika lady, how about you explain to the lovely audience, what do you think divorce is?
Well, divorce is the opposite of marriage, and marriage is coming together of the both genders in, should I say, communion or holy matrimony. So divorce
Did you
is
say holy matriculation?
I said matrimony. Holy matriculation. Are you for real? Okay, so divorce is the separation, like the should I say, annulment of the marriage, no longer being together as a couple, no longer being together of husband and wife forever and ever, and all of that. So you were asking something, is abuse enough ground for divorce? Well, I feel that there's a point where a human being can take it in life. There's a point where someone keeps hitting you and you keep enduring and enduring. I think there's separation before divorce. Separation is when, okay, you just go and stay somewhere. Let me stay somewhere for some time till when we get to know ourselves and then come back together. So sometimes there can be separation when the abuse is getting heightened and all of that. But I feel when the couple or the party cannot take it any longer, that's when divorce comes in. I mean, you can't die in silence, or you can't just keep collecting and collecting, either as a man or as a woman, and not feel like and feel like you should die in the shoe. I don't think it's right. So I feel that it gets to a point whereby the human cannot take it anymore, and then divorce just has to come in.
Okay, and then of course, while we were actually talking, the friend we've been expecting actually walked in. We have right here in the beautiful studio of Flow 94.9, barrister Norma Ibengwopia. She's been a friend right from when I was growing up, and she's really doing well in the legal sector. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Chimdi.
And you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Okay, before you came in, we were actually trying to explain what abuse actually is and how it affects people. We've looked at it on the fact that a man can actually abuse a woman, and a woman can in turn abuse a man. The abuse is not just peculiar to the women folks. And I also try to explain what divorce is. And we're trying to marry the two together. Now, having understood what abuse is, if we think is enough ground for a divorce, that's what we're actually trying to do. This is Reverend P.C.O.K. He's a counselor. This is Chikel, this is Chidera, and this is Chimdi, the triple C's here.
All
okay,
right.
And you're welcome to join us. So let's hear from you, especially because I'm going to be talking a layman like us. You're going to come from the legal parts.
Okay.
What really do you think abuse is? The categories, the levels, and how it can really affect an individual.
Okay. Before I came here, I was actually listening to you guys and understood your own layman in terms of what an abuse is. Okay, so I'll be talking from the legal aspect, and I'll be looking at what Black's Law Dictionary said abuse is from the 8th edition. Okay. So it's it is departure from legal or reasonable use.
Departure
From a legal or reasonable use, or otherwise known as saying you are misusing something.
Okay.
It could also be physical or mental maltreatment, often resulting in mental, emotional, sexual, or physical injury. The thing is that there has to be an injury caused to the person that is the victim of an abuse.
Okay.
An injury or it's a harm. Now you asked about the categories of abuse. You could have a physical abuse, the one that when you look at the person's body, you're seeing scars or something that shows that the person was actually beaten up or physically abused. You could also have a sexual abuse, where someone is raped. Yeah, and without the person, when someone is raped, that sexual intercourse without the person's consent. Because okay, divorce. The divorce is stepping away from the legal bound that bounds you as a couple. Okay. Now, when you get married under the Matrimonial Causes Act, which regulates marriage in Nigeria, when people get married and they go to court, or they get married not the customary way, they get married legally. They now become man and wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so when that happens, and at some point, because of some reasons, you now decide that you don't want anymore, you cannot just walk away. It's not like I'm not dating you anymore, you're no longer your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You have to get an order from court to get a divorce. That is you stepping away from that legal bound, but it has to be done legally too.
Okay, so it's only someone who has been legally married that can actually file for a divorce.
Yes.
So which means somebody who is doing hire purchase can actually not come to the court for anything.
No, what are you doing now? What? Hire purchase. Okay, first of all, what do you mean by hire purchase? So I can answer correctly.
I think the high purchase means you're living with a woman who you're not legally married to.
That's what I understood too, and that's why I said no.
That's what it is. So
You just walk away the same way you packed your luggage and went to the person's house.
okay, but what if the person actually just paid bride price and carried the person? No.
No.
No. Let me correct you. The Bible said exchange of token. That is bride price. When you pay bride price, if you go to the court,
You're not legally
I'm
married.
coming. If you go to the court, the registrar, to get registered, the first question is, has all the customary arrangement been done? And the father answered yes. And that is actually, has the bride price been paid?
Yes.
You understand? The law comes in because of documentation. Do you understand?
Yes.
Actually, the real thing that is understood and recorded in heaven and on earth is that bride price. If you pay bride price, you are married before man, before God.
Fine. I'm not arguing that, sir. But what I'm saying is, if you have paid that bride price and you have not gone to legalize it, maybe you just paid the bride price and you carried the lady home.
I think you have a case in the court because that is fulfilling customary law.
Then in that case, you could actually go to a customary court.
That
And
is
the
part of
thing
the law.
It's just to go and return the bride price. It's not as stringent as divorce itself that is under the Marriage Act.
Oh, okay. So you must follow the
The-
legal
I
process.
also think that the customary arrangement is also accommodated in the Marriage Act.
The customary arrangement.
Yes.
No. You have to be married under the Marriage Act. It is
I
recognized.
beg to
It's
disagree.
recognized.
Thank you.
It's
That's the
recognized.
language I want you to
Okay,
use.
not accommodated.
It is recognized under the Marriage Act.
But it's not accommodated.
It's not accommodated. There's no legal thing around it.
Whatever is recognized is accommodated.
Okay. Recognized and accommodated. We'll open a legal class next time. But right about now, it's Dame Show, and recognition and accommodation is not our topic for tonight. Our topic is having understood abuse. Okay, we come to you again, Barrister Norma. Having understood abuse, do you think is enough ground for divorce?
Do I think? Okay, from my legal perspective,
Yes.
right? Okay, I'll go back to the law that regulates marriage in Nigeria, the Legal Marriage Matrimonial Causes Act. Section 15 sub 1 only provides.
No, it's looking like chapter 1 verse
I like
2.
it. I like it when the lawyers go section this and that. I'm like, okay,
Section.
okay.
I can be
Oh my God.
intimidated. I cannot.
No,
be
it
intimidated.
triggers something in me. So it makes me know that I have a beautiful marriage. You know why? The beautiful legal certificate is in
All
my
right,
hand.
all right,
Oh.
okay.
Section this, subsection
Yeah,
that.
I have an illegal marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I was saying, section 15 sub 1 says that for a marriage to be dissolved, that's for someone to bring a petition for dissolution of marriage, the marriage must have broken down irretrievably. Now that is the only ground
Mamma
for you
mia.
to come for dissolution of marriage. Now sub 2 of that section 15 now went further to now state what can lead to this marriage breaking down irretrievably. And since we are talking about abuse can come under, I'm going to quote again, section 15 sub 2 sub 2 paragraph C. Is now the one that talked about the fact that the petitioner is saying that the respondent, what I
Yeah.
mean by respondent,
The abuser.
exactly, okay. That
No, we understand that.
okay, that the petitioner
No,
is
you
saying that
understand that.
Yeah,
Okay, but
that's why I
that's
said the
petitioner-
abuser so that everybody will
Petitioner
understand.
is the person.
that is the victim.
That's
Yes.
the victim, the abuser.
Respondent is the abuser. So
The
can I go on?
respondent is the person abusing the victim.
All right.
The abused and abuser.
Okay.
Ah.
So the petitioner is saying that the respondent has behaved in such a way that he or she is not reasonably expected to keep living with the person. So now the question is, what kind of behavior? What kind of behavior? Under it, you could find a behavior such that when the person is abused, physically abused, could come under it.
Psychologically.
Psychological abuse, it affects your health.
Yeah.
The health is very, very important. Also, section 16 now went down to refer to what could be It's not all-inclusive, but it's part of what could be that behavior. It could be that within a year before you came to file that petition, that the person has been convicted of murder or attempted murder. That's the man or the woman has attempted to kill the wife or the husband.
Okay.
Or the person has attempted or actually inflicted bodily harm or any kind of abuse on the person. Visibly. It could be, you must have an evidence for it. For a person to be convicted in the first place, that means you went to court and you had evidence. So that means that not just saying I've been abused and you now run to court and say you want a divorce. There has to be a proof.
You know, before you continue, there's a case where a woman actually went to court to file for divorce, and on the day of the trial, of the hearing, she came all dressed up, made up, and all that, and the lawyer asked, "Madam, you say you've been abused?" And she said, "Yes." "How?" He said, "Because," he said, "My lord, please take a look around all the women, including my learned my learned friend who is prosecuting the case. Isn't this woman more gorgeously dressed and beautiful more than everybody in this law court?" And that ended the case.
But wait,
but that's not a sufficient reason. No.
Okay.
You don't need to carry what you've been through on yourself.
What if he's what if he's in verbal abuse?
Okay, now I've gotten the
What if
lady's
it's
attention.
emotional?
I've got your attention.
No, it's not.
Please, Reverend.
It's not. You
You don't have to do that.
I'm sure
to
that
us.
did not happen.
I've got your attentions.
That is what if you are abused. The problem with Nigerians mostly is that when they get abused, they don't tell someone.
Suffering and smiling.
Exactly. And not just telling someone, they don't go to the police. They don't report it, don't document these things. So when you go to court, what are you showing them as your evidence?
Okay, I think, can I
Okay, please, sir, before you say what you want to say, let's go grab this glass of water. If you're just joining us, you're welcome. The show continues just in a bit. We'll grab a glass of water. When we come back, we'll continue. We have Barrister Norma Ibenwobia doing the legal thing, and Reverend Pisoki doing the counselor thing, and of course, the Triple C here, Chidera, Chikel, and Chimdi. Stay tuned.
Education development.
Prince Uche Egesi, aka Where Else.
Cool minty flow, with some butter to go. Butter mint sweet, no blend sweeter than this.
Now grab a Cadbury Buttermint for a perfect blend of unique, pleasurable taste.
Hi, una don hear? With 16 naira only, you fit enjoy that correct, refreshing taste of 35cl.
all.
Yeah. So we're
When
actually
you just
looking.
keep hitting and hitting and hitting without control, that is when the physical.
And like we
abuse
said, it can actually be from both sides,
Mm-hmm.
the woman hitting or the man hitting. Because I think it was just on Monday that we got an information of a woman just in Amozuku here, suspecting that her husband is cheating, accusing her of just the day before the governorship election.
Okay.
The man, a very poor man who's struggling, went to comb every money he could lay his hand on to give the woman to get something just ahead of the election on Saturday. And coming back and giving the woman, he was like, "This is small. What kind of thing? You've given it to all your girlfriends, right? You've given it." She flung it, and as the woman and you know, shouting, she actually made out and grabbed the guy's genitals. You know, this is what you've
And
been.
women,
You
are-
know,
when they want to
after
do
3
something,
kids,
how can a woman do
you
that
know,
to her
and
husband?
out of anger and all that, the man gave the woman a very hot slap.
The man gave the woman.
Yes. For grabbing that kind of, I mean, the one you have said is not enough. You're grabbing, are you grabber? Eventually, after the slap, he fell back because that was the very first time. For him to turn, the next thing he heard, it was, what? At the back of his neck with a pistol. Pistol for pounding. The woman used the pistol at the back of the neck. And we had the information immediately, and we asked one of us to go and find out the real thing about it. And I learned that even as at the time she went there, they actually brought the guy back, CR whatever, just to resuscitate the guy. And but the guy was not steady. Yeah, he couldn't raise his head, and the lady ran away thinking, you know, I've killed
That the man is
someone and all
dead.
that. So that's just an example of women abusing the men physically. It's not just the other way around.
And it's becoming everywhere. Like it's just everywhere. It's like the women we are now taking over. It's
Yes,
just everywhere.
yes.
We are just feeling.
What are you saying?
We are now feeling
This
like
is
the
equality.
No, we are now feeling we are trying
Must
to
be
be the
bad thing.
female thing.
We are learning taekwondo. Just the way Reverend said somebody molested him. Yeah, I don't know. But then again, we are asking you,
molested.
the person
Is
at
this?
home.
I was it.
And we are asking the person at home, actually, as you are at home, do you think physical abuse of hitting someone or however you want to look at it, do you think is enough ground for divorce? Let's get to hear from you what your thoughts are. 0808-182-6949 or 0811-605-2949. Don't forget our SMS line. I have actually been trying to put up the post on Facebook, but network. Yeah, you choose your lane, I choose my lane. SMS line is still 0906-510-8289. Let's get to hear what people have to say. Hello? Do try to call back is 0808-182-6949 or 0811-605-2949. Hello?
Hello, good evening, Chimdi.
Good evening.
Good evening, all of you.
We can hear you. Good evening. What's your name?
Good evening. My name is Ugochinyere.
Okay, Gachin, you're welcome.
It's okay to, it's all right, a man.
Hello? Okay, Ugachinye, do try to call us back. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, ladies in the house.
Good evening. What's your name?
Passionate.
Wow, Passionate, it's been a while. You're welcome. What's your take?
Well, to me, I think physical abuse, men, that sexual abuse, I think it's not enough for a man or a woman to divorce.
Why do you think so?
Now, to come. Why did I pay your bride price as my wife? Why did I marry you as a wife?
To batter me?
Why? Not even battering. One is to satisfy me during my sexual needs. Understand?
No, I don't
No.
understand.
I don't. As a counselor, I think that notion is very, very wrong.
No, let's allow Passionate to finish,
Okay,
please.
because that's very abusive already.
Oh, please.
Okay. no, as I was saying, I paid your dowry. I paid the dowry to get you to have you as my wife, and whatever I need, you give it to me.
Yeah, baby.
That is sure. So
Yeah, baby. That's
it.
That's it.
What
Okay.
tribe are you
No, take
representing?
it easy. Take it easy. Let's not. Okay, passionate. Thank you very much. I understand what you have said. No.
Chimdi.
Wait. Please calm down.
The woman is not a slave. The woman is not a sex slave.
Down. Can you calm down? Thank you. Okay,
That's
so,
absurd.
Probably abusing us.
Yes.
He has psychologically abused
What are
me.
you? Are you serious?
Yes. He has abused my psychic. He has abused my psychic.
Even you, reference.
Yes. He has abused my psychic. Why would
Okay,
you say that
okay.
a woman is your sex toy?
No.
That you paid bride price?
No.
That's automatically what
Okay,
he's meaning.
now you feel abused. Chidera feels abused. Chikel, you feel abused, right?
Yes,
Okay, so I adopt the feeling too. So the only person who doesn't feel abused is the lawyer. So we get to you, Barrister Number. What do you think?
Okay, I'm going to be talking from a legal perspective.
That is what we want, actually.
Because if I allow myself to talk as a woman,
Ah!
you
feel abused too.
Okay, now the question is, can a husband be said to rape his wife?
100% yes.
So.
Yes.
Don't you think so?
Without
Yes.
consent. Yes, now.
Okay, to shock you guys.
No. Are you serious?
Wait, now. To shock you guys, now. When you get into marriage, there is an implied consent. You are importing consent for sexual intercourse. I didn't say abuse anyway. For sexual intercourse. Now, what you look at is what is rape. What did the law say rape is?
Okay.
Now, our criminal code defined what rape is. Okay, and that's in section 357. It defined rape as any person who has unlawful knowledge of a woman or girl without her consent, or with her consent if the consent is obtained by force, by intimidation or threat of any kind, or by fear of harm, or by means of false or fraudulent representation as to the nature of the act, or if it's a married woman by impersonating to be her husband. That means someone is impersonating to be your husband. Okay, now for further clarity, section 6 of that criminal code now define what unlawful carnal knowledge is in quotes. Now, unlawful carnal knowledge means carnal connection which takes place otherwise than between husband and wife.
Okay.
Do you know what I just said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Unlawful carnal knowledge means carnal connection which takes place otherwise than between husband and wife, which means you can't say there's an unlawful carnal knowledge between husband and wife.
Yes.
That's what the law says. So and that is criminal code. Now the recent law now is not yet a law, but there's a sexual offense bill of 2013 that has been passed by the National Assembly, both houses, but our able president has not been able to assent it yet.
Yeah.
Now, but that one did not even handle the case of marital rape. It only expanded the definition of rape to include both genders. The definition I gave you before was talking about only female being raped. But this sexual offense bill, if it's passed to law, it means that a man can be raped too. And it also expanded in rape. It also mean aside penetration, there could be non-genital kind, like maybe using an object, something like that. But unfortunately, it did not still address marital rape. So that does not mean men should go ahead and start forcefully or violently sleeping with their wives. Like my brother that is a medical doctor was telling me a situation where maybe the woman went through what they call it, operation, vasectomy, right? So the doctor might not recommend and say maybe for 6 months or thereabout, do not have sex with your husband. Then some men that will not hold it will not force. What happens in that situation? Then you can report him for assault.
Okay, it will no longer be rape.
It's no longer be rape. It will not be assault.
So
it's not like the person is going scot-free.
So which means eventually what so many women call rape is actually assault.
Yes, in marriage.
Oh,
yes. Until there is a law that will now say there's rape in marriage. For now, when that happens, where there's a violent and sexual intercourse, Now we are not talking about consent again because there's an implied consent when you go married to the person legally. So when there's a violence, you can report your husband
I hate
to
that,
your
I hate that
husband.
word, implied consent.
You can see your husband
whether
for
you love it or
assault.
hate
Unfortunately,
it
it
is
is
But
there. That word implied consent. Eh? It just gives the man.
Do you know that when you get married and you refuse to consummate the marriage, it is a ground for a divorce? That is how serious consummation of marriage
That's
is.
actually true. Painfully,
Yeah.
painfully.
That is the word we are living. That is the
If
act
you
we have.
refuse to allow your husband, even the Bible says that you can actually stay away from sex, even when you are fasting.
But with his
But
consent.
there has to be an agreement
Yes.
between two of you that we're not going to have sex during this fasting.
You have to finish the
But
feist.
during the fasting, if there was no agreement and the man says, you open.
As you don't want to open.
There's a problem.
So when
You
when
must.
have to.
You must have to. You must.
you if it gets so
If you
bad,
appeal to him, and he understands that you are feeling headache or body pain, okay? But even if body pain, you should also understand that sex is an exercise that can actually cure the body
all
pain.
right.
Okay, and
That's for the married
So
ones.
sorry. So when there's now what you call the sexual abuse, that is now going to be an assault. If you cannot remain in that marriage because of how it happens like that, what you can do is to take your husband to report it. In fact, I believe there should be proof to show that you were abused, assaulted. Yes. So when you go to the police, what happens is when there's a police report, that one alone is a form of evidence for you. When you eventually go to
But
police.
let's be humorous here now. What if the bruises is at the genital part of the
You go
woman?
to the doctor.
And you need to show the police the evidence.
No, you
show
go to the doctor. That's
the doctor
medical
will give a
reports.
note.
Medical reports. Yeah.
It's all right.
He's all right. Another form of
Because if you
evidence-
have to show the police, maybe I'll have to enter police work.
It's all right.
Yes.
I think
So-
we have female police.
Yeah, we have female police now.
So and
It's all right.
something like that. So when your husband gets convicted for assault, it's on its own, it will now be your ground for divorce. Because it will now come under that one I talked about, that he behaved in such a way that you're not reasonably expected to keep living with him. That's section 15 sub 2.
That is
paragraph C.
if is an assault. That means for the people
Because
listening.
I was wondering if the man who has been convicted will still come back and meet you in his house and still marry you and say, my love.
It's possible.
Eh?
You know,
In Africa?
You know,
In Nigeria?
Africans.
In Alibo?
Is it not you people that used to tell us that marriage comes in different packages? You don't know which is
Yeah,
which.
exactly.
There are some persons that have been married for so many years. If you get into that place, I know when I got married newly and was having the misunderstanding things you have definitely as different
That's the
individuals.
initial stage.
I had a lot of persons who told me that mine is even my mind, that their own they will lock the door, do bone to bone. I did not say. I did not say
Fire to fire.
I say physical blow.
For 3 years.
That when they are done blowing physically,
They will settle.
they will open the door and come out. That the worst thing you do for yourself as a neighbor or a passerby
Is to
is
come
come
and
and ask,
ask.
hey, what happened?
Okay.
They will not tell
You know,
you
they
how you're
almost broke
supposed to
my
mind
head.
your business.
See, I think
No. You know, I told us that I was going to church and I saw a woman run out from the house and the man was chasing with a pistol. And about to hit the woman, I blocked it and gave him a sucker punch. The man fell down. I rushed to return with the James Bond. And the woman said, who invited you to kill my husband?
Oh.
And
Helper,
my hand.
my helper.
No, I became my enemy, my enemy.
Okay, so actually, if you've been following us from when we started, you know that we just cannot exhaust this thing right about now. But I must say a very big thank you to the Triple Cheese and, of course, Barrister Norma Ibengobia for coming. From what she has said, it can only get to a particular degree before they can think about anything.
But please don't let it get to that degree.
No, I'm not saying you should stay there. Let's die first. You can actually pack out.
Yeah, you can actually
That's
report.
separation.
That's separation.
You can
That's
say
what
you
it
can
was.
file for separation. I know a friend.
You can actually do informal separation. without
Yes,
filing.
I know a friend in Romahia who first of all filed for separation.
Okay.
You understand? Then it was when the husband made a mistake to threaten her with. She was beating the baby. They were living in the house and they were separated.
Wow.
Yes.
They were just looking at
It was granted.
flatmates.
They were living as. her last baby, and the husband almost stabbed her from behind. It was her daughter who shouted, "Mommy, daddy's with a knife." So she dodged. That was how he was not able to kill. So that evidence it was the daughter who gave evidence in the court. Why they?
I'm sorry, sir. That I don't think is physical abuse. I think that one is murder abuse.
It's attempted murder. That's what the lawyer said. That's what the barrister said. That now on that premise, the marriage was dissolved. The marriage was dissolved, I think, around September last year.
Okay.
First of all, he has to be convicted for that attempt.
No, he wasn't convicted because the woman didn't want to press
before we
for
get into how the matter ended, we'll be discussing that behind. I must say a very big thank you to even Reverend P.C. Oki and Barrister Norma for coming by. Join us next week for another edition of this big, important topic.
I think this is big show.
Big show, big damn show. We love you so much. We'll leave you in the arms of R. Kelly with this beautiful track, When a Woman is Fed Up.